Hello and good morning from sunny Dry Valley. I have a chance to share the thoughts from the heart today, and so I wanted to start off with this verse. It says, "Be still," from Psalm 46. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I find that verse particularly interesting in this unprecedented time of stillness. I think pretty much every secular organization or group or whatever is encouraging people towards stillness. So for instance, you have jobs saying work from home, schools saying don't go to school, all other activities, sports canceled, even church, stay home to do church. And we've never seen that before, but it's interesting that everyone is kind of calling us towards stillness. And yet, if you're like me, stillness does not exactly come easily. And so it's interesting that for me, I'm home, I'm here, and yet my to-do list is lengthy. I've got all the projects that I want to get done. Of course, we're enjoying time with family, etc., etc. And yet, in this sort of extended Sabbath that we've been granted, this random, unexpected, and extended Sabbath, stillness, even then, does not come easy. And so one of the things I'm interested in today is the fact that Psalm 46 says, "Be still." There's like an activity or an action on our part, kind of choose stillness and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. I'm reminded of a quote by a guy named Blaise Pascal that I heard ironically when I was not being still watching a YouTube video. And his quote goes like this. It says, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability." Let me read this this way. "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." And I think what Pascal was getting at there is something along the lines of, we like to create diversions. And the reason we create diversions is because that avoids kind of the deeper or more weighty questions that might come to our brains and to our hearts if we were to sit quietly in a room alone. And again, I'm so interested in this time because, well, everyone is calling us to sit quietly in a room alone. All organizations, all outside things. I'm getting the sense for myself and from others I'm talking to that anxiety levels are possibly going up. And it's interesting because even while we're supposed to be still, we are creating these diversions all around us. And so what I want to encourage us towards today is to really think through the idea of being still, of kind of taking hold of that on our end and kind of, I guess, courageously going into the stillness, courageously choosing to be still and having God meet us there and working towards avoiding at whatever level, not everything or all responsibility, but noticing when we're going to diversions just to keep our minds off of those things. Because the reality is, if we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling stressed in any sort of way, if we're feeling fear, avoiding those thoughts is not going to bring any more clarity. I think the best way forward is to go into those, which is, I'll readily admit, one of the scariest thoughts as well. And so, real briefly, I have three things that I think might be helpful going forward. Three activities, I guess, experiments, if you will, that you might want to try this week. It's Holy Week, so it's, we just did Palm Sunday, and Good Friday is historically a very strong time in the church for introspection, for kind of thinking deeply about what Jesus did on the cross for us. And so the first thought I have is kind of along the lines of what Pastor Doug described on Sunday in his sermon about going into the Lord's Prayer and just kind of staying in it. Maybe pick a time amount. 10 minutes or an hour or 4 hours, whatever you want to do. Pick a time amount and say, I'm going to sit in the Lord's Prayer, and I'm going to say something like, Our Father who is in heaven. Well, what is a father? What should a heavenly Father look like that we would want to hallow His name? Would it be like a boss interaction, or what's a good father want for their children? And keep processing through the Lord's Prayer that way. Or another great one historically is Psalm 23, and I've been working through that some, and the Lord is my shepherd, and there's a phrase in there that I've really been sitting in, which is He restores my soul. And what does that mean? And you got to go into that time in order for God to have the opportunity to show you what that looks like if He wants to restore your soul. A second thought is around the scriptures. I feel like oftentimes we read the scriptures and we hear a sermon on a couple verses, or we might read for our quiet time or daily devotional a chapter or 2 chapters, whatever. But I wonder if in this time of unprecedented stillness, if you have the opportunity to sit down and read through, say, one of the Gospels, in its entirety in one sitting. I think I looked it up not too long ago, and it might take an hour and a half or something like that to read through maybe the book of Mark or so, and just kind of really get the scope in this time of what Jesus was doing in His ministry, His death, and His resurrection, and let that kind of work in your soul in those ways. Third thing you might want to look into is, and this is something I always know I can improve in, is just step away from some of the technology. I mean, it's great because we have so many ways to communicate with other people, but if we're going to purposely choose to be still, and we're all at home isolated from other people, but we all still have all this access through a million different avenues over the web, that we might choose to be still in that sort of way, and kind of pick a time slot and block those things out. And my prayer, my hope for us all this week is that we might have the opportunity to, in some way, shape, or form, kind of take the action on our part of being still and be wonderfully and beautifully surprised to know that God is God, and that whether we thought we had control or not, He's in control, and that's a very good thing. God bless you.